So I just realized I've had the Apple Studio Display nearly 2 years and figured why not do a long-term review for those curious or on the fence. Shockingly, this monitor is one of the reasons I returned my Apple Vision Pro, and I'm going to dive more into that later. Now, when the Apple Studio Display first came out, the tone on YouTube and other reviews is all the same. It's expensive, it wasn't worth it for the specs, and at first it made me question my decisions to buy this and pair it with my Mac Studio. Nearly 2 years later of using the monitor in the real world, I personally have a very different take and believe there's a lot to consider. And I'm seeing these themes on other YouTube channels as well as people have lived with the device over time. So before I get into the 4 reasons I love about the display, I'm going to go over 4 cons that I wish Apple could have done a better job on. Now the first con is the refresh rate, and that's at 60 Hz. Now I wouldn't call myself a gamer, but I like to dabble, and for the price of this monitor, it almost seems like 120 Hz should have been the standard, just as you see with premium TVs. For audio and video work I do, it's not a big deal. Browsing the web, it's no problem. One element of it is I just want to future-proof myself as much as possible. If we were looking purely at the specs, if they would have hit this one, I think the monitor would have been a complete home run. Con number 2, and we can't avoid it, is the price. So I bought this for around $1,600, but I've seen deals, I think maybe for $100 or $200 off. But either way, that's a lot of money. And, having a dual monitor setup like I really want is just sort of mind-boggling. Now, if you want the nano texture glass, that's another $300. And for the height adjustable stand, that's another $400 on that. Now, I may be crazy spending this much money on a monitor, but there's just no way I could justify either of those options. With the nano texture, I don't have a problem with the glare or anything on the screen as it is. And I've heard with that nano texture, it just makes things stick easier to the screen. So if you get a piece of lint or fuzz in there, wiping it off, it's not going to be as easy. If you get a little spit or something spilled on, like happens on all of our screens eventually, it's going to be in those grooves and it's not going to be able to come off as easily as just a flat piece of glass. And I don't need the height adjustability, so I'm 6'1", I have a normal desk height, and I'd say my eyes line up right where they need to. If I wanted to bump this up a little bit, I'd just get some sort of stand or riser that I could put the monitor on. Maybe something with some width that I could put other knickknacks on, or, separate spaces to put my iPad or notebook. But for the most part, this is fine, and it's very ergonomic as it is. The third con is the power cord. Now, while it's made out of quality materials, it's kind of got that woven finish like they've been doing with a lot of their cords. It's fixed to the back. And true story, I had a buddy at work who had one of the older Thunderbolt displays. He had a standing desk, he put it up, and long story short, it pulled the cord, tipped his monitor over, shattering it all over. So if you have this monitor in a spot that is prone to people tripping or getting in the way of your feet, you got to be careful. Luckily for me, I have some good cord management right under the desk, into power strips, so I never have to worry about that, but it is something that has to be considered. My fourth and final con is the webcam. Now, it uses a 12 megapixel camera, but the quality could be better. Now, I've gotten compliments while on a call that the quality was really good, but I've just seen better options on the market, and once you've seen them, it's hard to go backwards. So I'm gonna nitpick there just a little bit. However, using center stage is pretty cool, and so that feature ensures that you're always centered in the camera when you're on, let's say, some sort of chat, using a camera that has a 122 degree field of view. So for example, if I'm on a virtual teacher conference with my wife and we're both sitting side by side, that camera will make sure it zooms out and includes both of us right in the middle. Now on the flip side, I've been on calls with people who shift a lot in their seat or constantly recentering themselves, and that camera shifting to them gets a little bit annoying. So, this is a little bit of a workflow issue, but if you can be a little less ADD, I always have to tell myself, maybe other people won't be so bothered. So just something to keep in mind. All right, now on to what I like about the Apple Studio Display, and my first pro is the design and build quality. Now this may seem odd to many, but I love the look and aesthetic of the Studio Display. I work at this desk all hours of the day and most of the week, so I want something that looks quality and inspiring. Even when it's not on, it is beautiful for what it is, and it doesn't detract from the space. There's no buttons or LED lights, it's just glass and metal. And it's got this nice minimalist feel to it. Nothing extra you don't need. I'll also say that it's super sturdy. I can hardly touch my old Samsung and the thing wobbles all over the place. The Apple Studio Display, on the other hand, feels like a tank. There's no worries on the stand breaking or this thing tipping over. There's just a solid heft to it. The tilt feature is very easy and smooth as well. It just takes the right amount of pressure to move it and it'll stay exactly where you set it. There's no creaks or weird noises like other monitors I've used in the past. The next thing I like about this monitor is the screen quality. So it's a 5K Retina display that is 27 inches in size. Items are extremely smooth. You're not going to be able to see individual pixels on this thing. It's crystal clear. The resolution is sized to scale perfectly from Mac OS, so everything is nice and uniform. I'll also say that the color accuracy is awesome, which is very important to me when I'm color grading videos or working in Adobe Lightroom. And I'll say that Studio displays also come with a standard anti-reflective coating designed to reduce the glare for better readability and comfort. So there's no reason why I would need that nano texture version unless I was sitting, let's say, right next to a bright window. My third pro is integration with Mac OS. And yeah, I get it. It's kind of annoying when Apple people say, well, it just works. But 98% of the people can plug it into the Mac and the colors, the resolution, they're just exactly where you want them. And I'm a huge fan that I can use the brightness keys on my keyboard and it'll control the monitor. Unlike my Samsung, where I have to click this little joystick in the back and move through a few menu options just to adjust it. You've all seen them. Maybe they have the buttons in the front, and navigating those can be a nightmare. I would die happy if I never have to use those little buttons and joysticks on monitors again. With True Tone, I can get a more natural viewing experience since the display uses its own ambient light sensor to automatically adjust color temperatures of the environment. I'll note that it's very easy to go into your settings and turn this off, for example, when I'm doing photo and video work, and I want to ensure that my videos are as accurate as possible color-wise, then that can go off. But for all other reasons, browsing the web at night, it is great to have that on and just have a little bit of that warmth so it's not so harsh on your eyes. For audio, the speakers crank out better sound than I can recall from any other TV or monitor where they are built in. They're great. The display consists of 6 speakers total, 4 woofers for lower end bass and 2 tweeters for the mids and the highs. But I won't lie though, I used the 2.1 clip setup for years and I really miss it. But I also didn't like that extra clutter and wires with having that setup. For watching YouTube videos or even editing on my own, these speakers are fine enough. If I really need higher quality or more immersive sound, I'll just throw in my AirPod Pros and let the listening begin. One last note I want to say is for spatial audio and Dolby Atmos, Apple talks about it and advertises it, but I don't get the effect that well as I do in my AirPod Pros or even my old Apple Vision Pro, which I returned. Sound doesn't sound like it is originating from other places, behind or above you. So that soundstage isn't substantial and, just sounds like speakers that are playing a left and right channel in front of you. So, it's okay that wise, but my expectations are I don't need the spatial audio or the Dolby Atmos. This isn't my home theater where I need sound all around me. I just want good quality sound that's crisp, I can understand, and can get loud enough, and that's all I need. If I had one more thought, I wish Apple made their own wireless subwoofer that would work flawlessly with the Apple Studio Display, and that would be awesome. I miss having a sub in my setup, but just give me one power cord, plug it in, and let it just work. I think Apple could do it. It'd be awesome. Probably cost a couple pennies, just like most of their products, but it could be awesome. And that is the roundup of the 4 pros and 4 cons of the Studio Display after living with it for 2 years. I said at the beginning, this display was one of the reasons I returned my Apple Vision Pro, and there's not a lie to that. Yes, the Apple Vision Pro was great for making a screen to work on, as big as I wanted, anywhere I wanted it in my environment, but I love coming to this office in front of this display and working with Old Trusty. I like looking at the device, the display itself, even when it's not on. It's overall not too small, it's not too big. If it was 32 inches, would I mind? Probably not. That'd be nice too. But 27's fine, and it integrates well, allows me to do my work in a color-accurate manner. It's got Thunderbolt connection on the back for my computer and 3 other USB-C ports for other devices if needed. So it's got that flexibility if you need to plug in an extra hard drive or something else. So I definitely recommend it, though I totally understand that there's cheaper options out there that are still awesome displays. So it's depending on your priorities and what you want to budget. I'll just say, try looking for a 27-inch monitor in 2024, at least March, And for, that's 5K and integrates so well with the Mac OS, there's not much out there, if anything. So it kind of depends, what you want out of your display. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.